This week brought major progress towards Starship Flight 14, with Ship 41 completing 2 static fire tests, Ship 40 finally reaching Christmas Island with some remarkable close-up imagery, and SpaceX revealing an extraordinary new plan to bring the recovered spacecraft back to Starbase. Let's get into the details. Flight 14 preparations accelerated with Ship 41, the upper stage assigned to the mission, rolling out to SpaceX's Massey's test site early Wednesday morning for its engine testing campaign. The first test came later that evening, when Ship 41 fired a single sea-level Raptor for about 16 seconds. The test was specifically designed to demonstrate a deorbit burn for upcoming orbital missions, a maneuver that lowers the spacecraft's orbit and sets it on a controlled trajectory back into the atmosphere for re-entry. The following day, SpaceX went much further, firing all 6 Raptor engines on Ship 41 for about 60 seconds. This long-duration static fire exercised the complete propulsion system under sustained operation, including engine ignition, propellant flow, and the vehicle's engine and feed systems. The test is also particularly important because Ship 41 incorporates the updated engine start sequence developed after Flight 12. During that flight, slight timing differences in the ship's engine startup caused the booster's post-separation flip to be about 90 degrees off target. The revised sequence is designed to be more tolerant of timing variations and reliably produce the correct directional flip for the boost back burn. Ship 41 will soon return to the production site for post-static fire inspections and final flight preparations, while Booster 21, the Super Heavy assigned to Flight 14, is receiving its engines inside Mega Bay 1 ahead of static fire testing at Pad 2. Pad 2 is nearing the final stages of post-Flight 13 inspections and repair work. A recent water deluge test indicates that the pad's ground systems are progressively returning to operational status, with further testing of systems such as the launch tower's chopstick arms and launch mount components expected in the coming days. Once these checks are complete, Pad 2 will be ready to host Booster 21's static fire test. If vehicle testing and regulatory approval stay on schedule, Flight 14 could launch early next month. The latest FAA Space Operations Planning document currently lists September 15th as the earliest potential launch date, although this remains provisional. Elon Musk had previously said Flight 14 would be Starship's first orbital mission, with SpaceX planning to attempt the first tower catch of the ship.
Assuming we receive regulatory approval to do so, we'll attempt to catch the ship with the tower on the next flight, which is tentatively scheduled for the end of this month.
However, his latest comments now suggest that the catch may be pushed back, with Musk saying SpaceX will probably catch the ship with the tower in a few months, rather than specifically tying the attempt to Flight 14. According to Ars Technica's Eric Berger, SpaceX may have been able to clear the regulatory hurdles, but the company simply was not ready to attempt the catch yet. This suggests the delay is more likely related to SpaceX's own readiness than a regulatory roadblock. That makes the decision particularly notable because recent flights have given SpaceX several reasons to move forward. Musk has said the earlier heat shield problems have been addressed, and that the company is confident in the tile's ability to withstand the intense conditions of re-entry, while the ship has also demonstrated controlled ocean splashdowns on consecutive flights. Yet SpaceX still appears unwilling to make the much more demanding tower catch attempt on Flight 14, suggesting that the remaining readiness gap may involve tighter landing accuracy, terminal vehicle control, structural loads, or other aspects of the catch itself, not simply the ship's ability to survive re-entry and land under control. The uncertainty also extends to Booster 21's recovery. An FCC filing released more than a week ago indicates that the Flight 14 booster could target a return toward the launch site, potentially setting up a tower catch. However, SpaceX has not officially confirmed this recovery plan, and the filing could be outdated. There is also reason for caution. Flights 12 and 13, the first 2 V3 Super Heavy flights, both suffered engine-related problems during their returns and failed to achieve controlled soft splashdowns. SpaceX may therefore choose to have Booster 21 attempt a controlled ocean splashdown first, allowing the V3 booster to demonstrate a reliable return before attempting the more demanding tower catch. At the production site, Flight 15 and subsequent missions are also progressing. Inside Mega Bay 1, Flight 15's Booster 22 is fully stacked, with its methane tank section joined to the oxygen tank section, and is now moving into plumbing, electrical integration, and other work ahead of cryogenic testing. Ship 42, the Flight 15 upper stage, is also fully stacked in Mega Bay 2 and undergoing final integration ahead of cryogenic proof testing. Several heat shield tiles removed from its aft section more than a week ago have since been replaced, although the reason for their removal remains unknown. Production is also moving on to the next missions. Sections of Flight 16's Booster 23 oxygen tank are entering Mega Bay 1 for stacking, while stacking of Ship 43 has begun in Mega Bay 2, with its nose cone payload bay assembly now joined to the forward dome. The remaining tank sections will be added in the coming days. Elsewhere, after more than 2 weeks of towing, Flight 13 upper stage, Ship 40, has reached Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean, marking a major milestone in SpaceX's first attempt to recover a flown Starship for post-flight analysis. The spacecraft splashed down on July 24th largely intact, unlike previous vehicles, making this recovery attempt possible. Recovery operations began on August 1st, with Ship 40 secured to the recovery vessel Normand Ranger and supported by SpaceX recovery crews. Rough weather, high seas, and several course changes repeatedly interrupted the tow before Ship 40 reached the waters off Christmas Island, an Australian territory in the Indian Ocean, on August 18th. SpaceX later said a team of engineers would conduct further analysis in calmer waters near the island before attempting to return the spacecraft to Starbase. Close-up images show the recovery setup and damage sustained during nearly 24 days at sea. Flotation devices and interconnected fenders kept Ship 40 afloat and distributed contact loads, while the tow line was attached to a central sea-level Raptor engine, pulling the spacecraft aft first. Large sections of the windward thermal protection system are missing, likely from wave impacts and contact with the recovery fenders. Both forward and aft flaps are extensively damaged, with part of the aft flap torn away to expose internal plumbing. The Raptor vacuum and sea-level engine nozzles are also deformed, while corrosion is visible across the vehicle after weeks in seawater. At Christmas Island, engineers will inspect the remaining heat shield tiles and attachment hardware, along with the flaps, actuators, structure, plumbing, avionics, and all 6 Raptor engines. The physical inspection will provide details that telemetry and onboard imagery cannot fully capture, allowing SpaceX to compare the vehicle's actual post-flight condition with Flight 13 data and better understand its performance during ascent, coasting, and re-entry, as well as damage sustained during splashdown, weeks at sea, and recovery operations. The assessment will also determine whether Ship 40 is sound enough for the 1 to 2 month voyage to Starbase. According to current vessel tracking, SpaceX appears to be preparing to use the semi-submersible heavy-lift vessel Forte to transport Ship 40 back to Starbase. Forte is currently traveling from Singapore toward Christmas Island, with an estimated arrival of August 22nd. With a cargo deck measuring about 216 meters long and 43 meters wide, the vessel has ample deck space to accommodate Ship 40, which is roughly 52 meters long. Semi-submersible vessels can ballast down and partially submerge their cargo deck, allowing large objects to be positioned above it before the vessel rises and lifts them out of the water for transport. SpaceX used a similar method to transport its Falcon 9 recovery drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You, from Florida to Vandenberg in 2021. At Kennedy Space Center, SpaceX is planning Project Ignition, a nearly 55-acre Starship testing facility near the west end of Schwartz Road, northwest of its existing Roberts Road operations. The facility will include a test stand and supporting infrastructure for post-production testing, including tank, pneumatic, and cryogenic proof tests, spin prime tests, and static fires, giving Florida a testing capability similar to SpaceX's Massey site at Starbase. The facility would complement Roberts Road, where SpaceX is processing Starship hardware and building infrastructure for Florida launch operations. At Starbase, vehicles are transported several miles from the production site to Massey's for pre-launch testing, and then back again, adding transport time and requiring road access restrictions during the moves. Project Ignition would instead provide this testing capability close to Roberts Road, allowing Florida-bound vehicles to move between production and testing without comparable long-distance transfers. The permit is still pending, so construction has not yet been approved. If built, Project Ignition would support Starship vehicles destined for launches from LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center and SLC-37 at Cape Canaveral. At LC-39A, construction has entered its final phase, with major ground systems moving into testing and commissioning. Recent work includes water deluge tests and chopstick arm load testing with water bags as the site moves toward launch readiness for the currently planned Flight 15 later this year. At Space Launch Complex 37, the launch tower is fully stacked, with work shifting to the ship quick disconnect arm, catch arms, and other mechanical, fluid, and electrical systems, while the launch mount, flame diverter, tank farm, and remaining ground infrastructure continue to take shape. The site is targeting an operational debut next year. Now, let's discuss the latest updates from the world of science and technology. China's LandSpace has just achieved a historic breakthrough with its Juche 3 rocket, China's first land-based recovery of an Orbital-class rocket booster. However, a fire broke out shortly after touchdown, adding an unexpected complication to the otherwise successful landing. LandSpace, founded in 2015, first developed the solid-fueled Juche 1 before moving to the liquid methane and liquid oxygen-powered Juche 2, which became the first methane-fueled rocket to reach orbit. Building on that experience, the company developed Juche 3, a two-stage, 65-meter-tall reusable launch vehicle powered by liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Its first stage uses 9 TQ-12A engines and is designed for recovery with 4 grid fins and deployable landing legs, with LandSpace targeting up to 20 flights for a single booster. The second stage uses a TQ-15A methane oxygen engine to complete the mission and deliver the payload to orbit. Before attempting an orbital recovery, LandSpace conducted first-stage hop tests to validate aerodynamic control, powered descent, and precision landing, laying the groundwork for Juche 3's orbital recovery attempt. Juche 3's latest orbital mission lifted off on August 19th from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwestern China, carrying the Honghu 3 communications satellite. The ascent proceeded normally, and about 137 seconds after liftoff, the first and second stages separated. While the second stage continued toward orbit with the payload, the first stage turned around and performed a boost-back maneuver to begin its return. It then deployed its grid fins for aerodynamic control during descent, before initiating a landing burn for the final approach. Just over 8 minutes after liftoff, the booster successfully touched down on the landing pad in Minqin County, about 390 kilometers downrange, marking China's first successful land-based recovery of an orbital-class booster. The achievement is particularly significant because Juche 3's first flight in December 2025 reached orbit, but failed during its recovery attempt. An abnormal combustion event occurred during the landing sequence, sending the booster down in flames before it crashed near the landing site. Using data from that flight, LandSpace modified the recovery systems by reducing the number of engines used during the landing burn, improving autonomous recovery control with a landing point prediction function, and strengthening protection against the extreme loads and heating of re-entry. This time, the booster successfully completed the landing, but the recovery did not end there. Post-landing footage showed a fire developing around the base of the vehicle, while robotic equipment was deployed to suppress the flames. The fire continued to spread around the base of the booster, eventually causing one of its landing legs to collapse and the vehicle to fall over. The booster did not explode, and engineers are now preparing to transport it back to LandSpace's facility for inspection and further assessment. Meanwhile, the second stage successfully deployed Honghu 3, a communications technology verification satellite, into its predetermined orbit. LandSpace describes this mission as the transition from recovery technology verification to engineering reuse verification. The next challenge is therefore to inspect and refurbish the recovered stage and eventually demonstrate a reuse flight. This also wasn't China's first orbital booster recovery. In July, the state-owned Long March 10B first stage was recovered at sea using a cable net capture system on a recovery vessel. A detailed video covering that mission, including how the booster aligned with the cables and was caught in mid-air, is linked in the description below. Thank you for tuning in for the latest science news and Starship updates. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.